My phone rang at 11:40 p.m. on a Tuesday. The name on the screen was someone I'd known for 20 years, since we were 9 years old, since school buses, sticker books, cheap footballs, sleepovers, birthdays, family problems, and the kind of memories you don't even explain anymore because the other person was already there. I answered half asleep. He didn't say hello. He said, "I need $100,000 by Friday. I'll give it back after the deal closes, and you'll get 10% on top." No contract, no lawyer, no paperwork, just his voice, and 20 years of trusting it. I said yes before he even finished explaining. By the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly how much of that $100,000 I actually got back. And I'll tell you the last message he ever sent me. But first, you need to understand why I didn't ask for a single piece of paper. Because when someone has been in your life for 20 years, trust doesn't feel like a risk. It feels like proof. And that's what made it dangerous. We met on a school bus when we were 9. He sat next to me because the other seats were taken. By the third stop, we were trading stickers like we were negotiating a business deal. That was the beginning. 15 years later, half joking, after a rough breakup, he told me something I never forgot. "If I ever screw you over," he said, "you have permission to hate me forever." I laughed. I told him that would never happen. I believed it. After the school bus, he was just there. Birthdays, breakups, bad apartments, long drives with no plan, family problems, one road trip that nearly ended in a fine for something neither of us ever fully admitted. When my father died, he was one of the first people who came. When his marriage ended, I was the one who picked him up. That kind of friendship changes how your brain works. You stop asking certain questions. You stop needing proof. You think, this person knows me. I know them. We've already been tested. So when he called about the money, I didn't hear an investment pitch. I heard a friend in trouble, and friends don't send friends term sheets at midnight. At least, that's what I told myself. He explained the deal quickly. Too quickly, I realize now. A logistics company, a distributor contract, a shipment window that was closing, a payment that had to be made before Friday. He said if he missed it, the whole deal could fall apart. Then came the offer. "You'll get the 100 back once the deal closes, and I'll give you 10% of my side." That was how he said it. Simple, confident, like the deal was already done and he only needed help crossing the last bridge. I asked one question. "When do you need it?" "Not." "Can I see the contract?" "Not." "Who is the distributor?" "Not." "What happens if the deal doesn't close?" "Not." "Is this a loan or an investment?" "Just..." "When?" He said, "Friday." I wired it Thursday night. And this wasn't spare money. It wasn't money sitting around with no purpose. It was money I had built over years. Money that had taken discipline. Money that had a future attached to it. I remember staring at the confirmation screen, $100,000. Even when you trust someone, that number still looks heavy. Then I pressed confirm. And just like that, 20 years of friendship became a financial agreement neither of us had written down. For a while, nothing felt wrong. That's the part people don't understand. Betrayal doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives as normal messages. Deals moving. Distributor, love the numbers. Should see first return by spring. Just waiting on final paperwork. Every message sounded reasonable. Every delay had a reason. And because it was him, I didn't read the messages like a creditor. I read them like a friend. Spring came. No money. I texted casually. "Any update on the deal?" He said it had shifted. The distributor wanted better terms. Cash flow was delayed. Then he said the 10% would take a little longer to materialize. That word stayed with me. Materialize. I didn't know it yet, but that word was the last honest thing he'd ever say to me. Everything after it was a performance, and I fell for every act of it. Almost a year after I sent the money, I finally got something back. $4,000. No breakdown, no repayment schedule, no explanation. Just a transfer notification and a text that said, "Start of it," with a smiley face. I stared at the smiley face longer than the number, because $4,000 should have made me feel better. Instead, it made me feel stupid. Not because it was nothing, because it was just enough to keep hope alive. Around that same time, I noticed something else. He'd started posting online. Photos in a nice office. Captions about closing another one and grateful for the grind. To everyone else, he looked like a man winning. To me, he was a man who wouldn't answer a single text about the $96,000 he still owed me. That contrast is the part that still gets me. The confidence he showed the world was the same confidence he used to avoid me. 4 months passed. Nothing. Then another payment came, $2,500. So now, after more than a year, I had received $6,500 back from $100,000. And somehow, I was the one feeling awkward for asking about the rest. That's what money does when it enters a friendship. It makes the person who trusted too much feel rude for wanting clarity. Eventually, I stopped being casual. I sent one clear message. No emotion, no accusation, just numbers. How much has come back? How much is still owed? And when should I expect the remaining balance? He didn't reply with text. He sent a voice message, 11 minutes long. I remember the length because I watched the counter the whole time. 10 minutes and 58 seconds. 10 minutes and 59 seconds. 11 minutes. Waiting for him to answer the only question I had asked. He never did. He talked about pressure. He talked about how complicated the deal had become. He talked about people not understanding business. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. No one gives 10% anymore. That's not how deals work. As if I had invented the number. As if it hadn't come out of his own mouth at 11:40 p.m. on that Tuesday. As if the deal had changed because remembering it correctly had become inconvenient. That was the moment something in me went quiet. Not angry, not shocked, quiet. Because I realized he wasn't trying to explain. He was trying to rewrite the night I said yes. I asked one more time, in writing this time, how much was returned, how much was still outstanding, what the repayment plan was, what happened to the 10%. 4 days later, he replied, 6 words. I don't owe you an explanation. I read it once, then again, then a third time, not because I didn't understand it, because I understood it too well. He gave me permission 15 years ago, half joking, to hate him forever if he ever did this. I just never thought I'd need to use it. I never got the remaining balance. I never got the 10%. I got $6,500 back from a $100,000 deal, and I lost a friendship that had survived divorce, grief, bad years, midnight phone calls, and 20 years of life. But it didn't survive money. We haven't spoken in 3 years. I still have his number saved. I've never deleted it, and I don't fully know why. I still don't know if the business ever really needed $100,000 or if it needed exactly as much as I was willing to send without asking questions. I don't know if he planned it from the beginning. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Maybe the deal was real at first. Maybe the pressure got bigger. Maybe the money disappeared into the business. Maybe it disappeared into his life. Maybe he always intended to make it right until making it right became too expensive. That's the part I still can't settle because it would almost be easier if I knew he had lied from the start. Then I could hate him cleanly, but I don't know that. What I know is this. At the beginning, I trusted him enough to send the money. At the end, he did not respect me enough to explain where it went. And somewhere between those two things, 20 years disappeared. People will tell you, you should have gotten it in writing. They're right. Of course they're right. But that advice only sounds simple after the damage is done. Because in the moment, paperwork felt like suspicion. A contract felt like an accusation. Asking for proof felt like saying, I don't believe you. And after 20 years of friendship, I didn't want to be that person. The mistake wasn't trusting him. The mistake was thinking trust and paperwork were opposites. They're not. If the friendship was strong enough for $100,000, it should have been strong enough for one document. I sent $100,000 on trust. I got $6,500 back. And the last thing my best friend ever told me was, I don't owe you an explanation. That wasn't business going wrong. That was betrayal. So here's the lesson. If the relationship matters, protect it with clarity. A real friend should not be offended by a simple agreement. If you've ever lost money to someone you loved more than the money itself, comment 93,500. That's what 20 years cost me. And subscribe for the next story.